Hey, you guys. So another twist in the Cardi B, Offset, and Stefon Diggs situation. And if you have been rocking with me through every single layer of this mess, buckle in, because what just surfaced is not a little update. It is the kind of update that reshapes the whole story. New paperwork has hit the public, new footage has hit the timeline, and new whispers are crawling out of corners nobody expected. And I think you need to sit with me through every piece of it, because people are running with a version of events online that is not lining up with what the paper trail is actually saying. We are going to walk through what Offset filed, why the judge made the ruling the judge made, what that gag order really means, why Diggs suddenly popped up at a concert, why Cardi made the phone call she made, and how a single tweet from halfway across the world spun the entire internet into a lie. So, grab your drink, lock the door, tell your auntie to call you back, because this one has layers, and we are peeling every single one of them. Are you ready? All right, let us get into it. Now, as most of you already know, the main ignition point here is Offset walking into a courtroom and formally requesting a DNA test for the baby boy Cardi B welcomed in November of 2025, the child that the entire world has already watched Stefon Diggs publicly claim. And I want you to really hear me when I say this, because people online keep pretending this came from nowhere. It did not come from nowhere. This moment has been simmering since the very first day Offset posted that 3-word caption on his Instagram story, the one that said, and I quote, so you hear the whole weight of it, "My kid, LOL." That was not an accident. That was not a typo. That was not a finger slipping on the keyboard. That was a statement. And the word I want you to underline in red ink in your mind is that LOL on the end, because that LOL is doing a whole lot of work. That LOL is designed to make it look casual, designed to make it look like a joke, designed to give him plausible deniability if the internet came for him, while still planting a flag in the middle of another man's moment. That is not funny. That is strategy. And the fact that the post got yanked down within minutes tells you somebody in his camp knew exactly what it implied the second it went live. That post was not regret. That post was reconnaissance. He dropped it, watched how the internet reacted, pulled it back, and kept the screenshots alive in the wild exactly where he wanted them. But let me pull back, because to really understand why this DNA filing is so loaded, we have to rewind the whole timeline. And I mean the whole timeline, because everybody wants to jump to the juicy part without understanding how we got here. All right, Cardi and Offset married September 2017. That is the anchor date. Lock it in. Cardi files for divorce in July 2024. That is another anchor. And if you are sitting there thinking, okay, July 2024, that divorce should be wrapped up by now, baby, this is exactly where the entire legal tangle lives, because that divorce has been dragging, limping, stalling, and crawling its way into the system all the way into 2026 without ever being finalized. And that little detail, that one unfinished paper, is the hinge that everything else swings on. Remember that. Lock it in, tattoo it on your brain. Now, fast forward. Late 2024, the streets start whispering. Fans are squinting at Cardi's posts, screenshotting captions, swearing she is dropping hints. And eventually, Cardi hops on Instagram Live and pushes back on the talk herself. Then, February of 2025 rolls in, Valentine's Day in Miami, and a video surfaces of Cardi and Diggs out in the middle of the night. And the footage, let me tell you, the footage was not shy. From that second forward, it stopped being a question of if, and started being a question of when they would stop hiding it. By April, they're at Coachella, locked into each other, dancing like nobody else is on the grass. And right around that same stretch, Offset actually posts something publicly congratulating them, wishing them peace, wishing them well, and at the time the internet is like, oh look how mature he is handling this. Save that post in your memory, because it is about to age like milk in the sun. May 2025, Knicks versus Celtics at Madison Square Garden, and Cardi and Diggs walk into that arena holding hands like they own the air, and the Jumbotron catches them and the internet eats it up. June 1st, 2025, Cardi officially posts him, Diggs responds back, and that's the seal on the envelope. They are official, public, confirmed. By September, Cardi sits down on CBS Mornings and looks directly into the camera and says she's having a baby with her boyfriend Stefon Diggs. that she is excited, that she is happy, that she feels like she is finally in a good space. That is not somebody hedging. That is not somebody being careful. That is somebody planting a flag and daring anybody to pull it up. November 13th, 2025, the baby boy arrives, Cardi's fourth child, her first with Diggs, and she makes it Instagram official, and Diggs is right there next to her in the photos, cradling this child like his life begins and ends with him. And while all that is happening out front, I want you to remember something else was brewing in the background. Around that same year, news had already surfaced that Diggs had fathered another child with a model named Aaliyah Lippert, and that situation had its own paternity questions, initial DNA requests, and eventual acknowledgement. So this man is not walking into this chapter clean either. This is a loaded deck on every side. Now, this is the part where most people stop the story. They see happy family, they see new chapter, they see closed case. But this is exactly where the real story begins, because while all of those pretty public moments were happening out front, underneath there was a quiet legal time bomb ticking, and that bomb has a name. It is called marital presumption. And I know some of y'all are about to glaze over when I say legal doctrine, but stay with me, because this is the single most important piece of the entire story, and most of the internet has been talking reckless about this case without ever bothering to understand it. Here's the plain English version. In most places in this country, if a child is born while a woman is still legally married, the law automatically assumes her husband is the father. Not her boyfriend, not the biological dad, the husband. It does not matter if the couple has been separated for years. It does not matter if the husband hasn't seen her in months. It does not matter if everybody on earth knows the baby belongs to somebody else. The paperwork, until it is challenged and overturned in court, says the husband. That is the default. That is the law. That is the rule that was written to make sure no child gets left without a legal parent on record. And it was written long before reality TV couples and Instagram relationships were even a concept. So, when Cardi gave birth in November 2025, she was still, on paper, Mrs. Offset. And that one single fact is what gave Offset the legal footing to walk into a courthouse and file what he filed. Whether you agree with him or you cannot stand him, the law does not care about your feelings. The law cares about the paperwork, and the paperwork had him listed as the presumed father of that baby. Now, according to documents reported by TMZ, Offset did not just whisper about this on social media, he formalized it. He requested a DNA test, directly questioning whether that baby was his or Diggs, and on February 25th, 2026, the judge made a call that I need y'all to really hear, because this is where a lot of people online got it completely twisted. The judge denied the DNA test for the newborn. Denied. Let me say that slower. Denied. But, and this is the but that the internet has been scrolling right past, at the exact same time, the judge approved a separate DNA test request involving another child. Names redacted, details sealed. But the signal underneath that ruling is loud. Somebody is being tested, and that somebody is not the baby boy everybody has been arguing about online. And I want you to sit with me on this for a second, because the media ran headlines saying Offset's request got denied, and they stopped right there. They didn't tell you about the second test. They didn't tell you that a different child is now on the table. Why? Because that second test opens up a set of questions nobody in either camp is ready to answer out loud, and it points to a timeline that gets real uncomfortable real fast. Cardi and Offset have a daughter, born in September 2024, just 2 months after Cardi filed for divorce. Do that math with me. 2 months. And now, coincidentally, a DNA test for another child has quietly been approved by the court. I'm not telling you what to think. I am telling you what the paperwork suggests. I'm telling you to read between the lines the way the court clearly is. That's it. If that second test comes back the way some of us suspect it may come back, the custody map, the financial map, and the entire divorce settlement gets rewritten from scratch. And we're not talking small adjustments. We're talking 7-figure shifts. And here's where the story gets even thicker. Because the judge didn't stop at ruling on the tests, the judge also issued a gag order on both Cardi and Offset, specifically barring them from making disparaging or defamatory statements about each other in public or on social media. When a judge has to reach into a celebrity divorce and physically staple their mouth shut, that is not a small move. That is the court telling you out loud that this situation has gotten so volatile, so dangerous, so close to the edge that anything said outside of a courtroom could now actively harm the case. Gag orders do not get handed out because things are calm. Gag orders do not get issued because two people are playing nice. Gag orders get handed out because things are on fire, and somebody in a robe decided the only way to keep the case intact is to cut the microphones off completely. Now, while all of that is unfolding, Stefon Diggs is sitting on his own pile of trouble. And this is the part I promise you TMZ did not want leading their front page. Back in December 2025, criminal charges were filed against Diggs out of Dedham District Court. The complaint came from his personal chef, and according to the court records, she alleged there was a dispute about money she said he owed her. And during an encounter at his home, she claimed he struck her across the face. Let me repeat that for the people sprinting past. His personal chef accused him of hitting her. Diggs's legal team came out swinging immediately, calling the claims unsubstantiated, uncorroborated, and saying the incident never happened in the first place. But on February 13th, 2026, Diggs walked into a courtroom and pleaded not guilty to charges that include felony strangulation and misdemeanor assault. Felony strangulation. Those are not small words. Those are not misunderstandings. Those are charges the system does not print lightly. And this is all happening just days after his team lost to the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. So the timing adds yet another weight on his shoulders. And right in that same window, something quiet happened that fans noticed before any blog did. Cardi and Diggs unfollowed each other on Instagram. Not a drag-out social media war, not a diss track, just a silent unfollow. And anybody who has ever lived in a relationship knows that silent unfollow is louder than any argument because it is the polite way of closing a door. So all of a sudden, the fairy tale that looked so solid in November is looking a whole lot less solid in February. And in the background, Offset is still filing, still watching, still waiting. Then April arrives. And April said, let me stir this pot a little harder. April 6th, 2026, around 7 p.m., outside the valet area of the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, just north of Miami, Offset gets caught in a shooting. Let me repeat that. A shooting. He is hospitalized with injuries described as non-life-threatening, but make no mistake, he is hospitalized. And the early scene, according to witnesses and reports, was pure chaos. Cars, voices, phones reporting, panic. Now, according to court records, a man known online as Lil J, real name Tioni Jaden Merritt, was there. Reports say people associated with him got into a physical altercation with a group that included Offset. Surveillance footage reportedly caught Merritt on his phone recording the confrontation, and somewhere inside that confrontation, someone pulled a firearm and shot Offset. Merritt was later arrested, but only on a disorderly conduct charge, a misdemeanor. His attorney, Dawn M. Florio, came out fast and firm, saying her client has not been charged with any shooting and distanced him entirely from the act itself. The investigation is still wide open. And let me add one more thing here that nobody is saying out loud. Offset is already lived through losing Takeoff back in 2022 at that Houston bowling alley. That scar is still fresh. So when this man ends up in a hospital bed with a gunshot wound, this is not just another celebrity headline. This is trauma stacked on trauma, and that context matters. And before you ask, because I already know you are about to, let me answer the question that has been trending in every comment section. No, Stefon Diggs was not there. Stefon Diggs was not involved. Stefon Diggs is not named in any credible report, any police statement, any court document, any witness account. Zero. None. Not a footnote, not a line, not a whisper inside the actual paperwork. Write that down. By Friday, April 10th, Offset is released from the hospital. A representative confirmed he is walking, recovering, and thankful. Offset himself posts online thanking everybody who reached out. And this is the moment where the whole story cracks open and shows you a side of Cardi that most of the noise online has been too loud to see. Because despite the DNA filings, despite the divorce, despite the tension, despite the fact that he had just tried to question the paternity of her baby in front of the entire country, Cardi reportedly reached out to check on him. Read that sentence slowly. She checked on him, not because she was coming back, not because the divorce was dropping, but because at the end of the day, they share history, they share children, and a man she once called her husband was laying in a hospital bed. That is grown. That is the part the blogs glossed over because peace does not make headlines the way a DNA test does. Around that same stretch, Cardi addressed the whole situation from the stage on her tour, drawing a clean line between private beef and public respect. She did not reopen old wounds, she did not throw a dart, she just acknowledged that the history between her and Offset still carries a weight, and then she kept performing. And then, just when you thought the story had exhaled, Stefon Diggs walked right back into the frame. Only days after the shooting, after all the unfollow rumors, after every blog had them broken up and buried, Diggs showed up at one of Cardi's concerts. Not in a hoodie, not in the shadows, in the crowd with his family, watching her perform. Fans caught him on camera. Fans caught them leaving the venue together afterward. So while Offset was recovering at home, Cardi was on stage, Diggs was in the audience, and the paperwork was still moving in the background. 3 different storylines, same 7-day stretch, all braiding into one knot nobody in the media wanted to untangle, honestly. And on top of all of that, reports started surfacing that Offset had been dealing with gambling-related financial trouble, which adds yet another uncomfortable layer onto a man who is already legally, emotionally, and physically stretched thin. Now, let us get to the part that made the entire internet lose its mind, because a few hours after the shooting news broke, a tweet started circulating, posted in Turkish on April 11th of 2026, claiming, and I am not making this up, that a DNA test had supposedly confirmed Offset as the biological father of Cardi's newborn, and that Stefon Diggs had responded by physically attacking Offset at the hotel. That one tweet, in a language most Americans do not speak, translated across platforms, jumped from TikTok to X to Instagram to YouTube, and within hours it was being repeated like gospel. People were writing entire think pieces off of it. People were dragging Diggs in the comments. People were defending Offset like the DNA paper was signed and notarized. And I want you to stop and really look at what just happened, because this is a pattern I have watched over and over again. One anonymous post in a foreign language, 0 receipts, 0 sourcing, 0 court record, 0 police report, and the entire internet swallowed it whole because it fit the drama people already wanted to believe. So let me line up the facts for you, one by one, the way the paperwork actually reads, because the paperwork does not care about a viral tweet. Fact 1. The court denied Offset's DNA test request for the newborn. That is confirmed through TMZ, Billboard, and Yahoo. There is no public ruling, no public result, no public filing showing Offset is the biological father of that baby. None. Fact 2. The seminal Hard Rock shooting had nothing to do with Diggs. The police report, the court records, the witness statements, and the surveillance footage all point to Lil J and the people around him. Diggs is not mentioned in a single official document tied to that incident. Fact 3. The charges Diggs is facing are completely unrelated to Offset. They involve a separate situation with his personal chef in a different state with different witnesses on a different timeline and are being handled by a different court. These two legal storms are not touching each other. Anybody telling you otherwise is selling you a story, not reporting one. So when you line up what actually happened, the picture looks nothing like what went viral. Offset filed for a DNA test, the court denied it for the newborn but approved it for another child. Offset was shot in a separate incident at a casino, Cardi checked on him, Diggs showed up publicly at Cardi's concert days later. The chef case against Diggs is moving on its own track. That is the truth. Everything else, every other version of the story twisting around on timelines right now, is fan fiction wearing a news outfit. And I want you to notice a pattern here because I have been doing this long enough to see it. Every time a black woman in the public eye steps into a new chapter, the internet rushes to drag her backward. Every time she tries to build something new, a new rumor conveniently appears to chain her to the old. Every time she finds peace, a new narrative shows up right on cue to disturb it. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern. And pattern recognition is survival skill. And let me be honest with y'all, because I promised I would be. I don't hate Offset. I don't hate Diggs. I don't hate Cardi. I am not on anybody's team, but I am on the team of the truth. And the truth in this case is uglier and more boring than the rumors, because the truth is that this is a man using the legal system to protect himself from financial responsibility for children he is not sure are biologically his, while another man is trying to build a family in real time while the legal definitions have not caught up with his reality, while a woman who is a mother to 4 kids is trying to hold a career, a body, a baby, and her peace together on a stage every night. That's the real story. It's not sexy, it's not clickable, it's just human and messy and ongoing. But here's the thing I want everybody watching to take away, because this is bigger than Cardi, bigger than Offset, and bigger than Diggs. The marital presumption rule is sitting inside the law books of most states in this country right now, quietly, waiting to become somebody else's nightmare. If you are separated but not divorced, and you have a baby with somebody new, the law does not care about your feelings, your Instagram posts, or your TikTok captions. Until that divorce paper is stamped, your ex can legally show up and claim a role in that child's life that you never invited them into. That is not drama. That is not gossip. That is the actual statute. And the reason this case matters beyond the celebrity noise is because it is forcing a whole generation of people to look up and realize that paperwork still runs everything, even in the age of receipts and screenshots. The courts are going to finish this. The DNA test on that second child is going to come back, and when it does, whatever it says, the story is going to shift again. The divorce is eventually going to close, and when it does, the custody structure is going to reshape. Diggs may or may not file for legitimation to override the marital presumption. Offset may or may not fight that filing. Cardi may or may not speak on it publicly. But what you can bet on is this. The version of this story on the timeline right now is not the final version. It is a draft. A loud, messy, emotional draft. And everybody typing in those comment sections like they know the ending is writing checks that the court has not cashed yet. So before you repost that Turkish tweet, before you hit share on that shady blog headline, before you go to war in somebody's comment section defending a narrative you cannot even source, slow down. Look at the paperwork, read the rulings, watch the dates. Because in this case, the rumors are moving faster than the facts, and people are being convicted in the court of public opinion off of pure imagination. All right, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Are you reading the timeline the way I'm reading it? Do you think that second DNA test is about the daughter born in September 2024? Do you think Cardi and Diggs are still together? Or do you think that concert appearance was damage control? Tell me. I am reading every comment. And turn your notifications on, because the moment that second test result drops, the moment that divorce finalizes, the moment anything shifts in this case, I am going to be right back here breaking it down with you piece by piece. We are in this one for the long haul. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, stay with me, stay with the paperwork, and do not let a viral post in a language you can't even read rewrite somebody's whole life story in your head. I will talk to you all soon. Bye.